Madam Deputy Clerk, time 7 p.m. I'm going to call this public planning meeting to order. Town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Regina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. Shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Also, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Councilor Weiss, Councilor Gallo, comments or questions? Call the vote. That carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Welcome to Aurora's public planning meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application. For the planning application that will be considered by council tonight, the following process will occur. 1, town planning staff will outline the purpose of the planning application being considered. 2, then the applicant will be given an opportunity to make a presentation and address issues raised in the staff report or public concerns already filed. 3, following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the item virtually or in person and may speak twice for up to 5 minutes each time. And 4, following comments from members of the public, I will then ask of council for their comments. It's very important that the town receive the correct names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the planning applications. Therefore, if you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any further council or committee meetings concerning the application being considered, you must complete a planning interested party and speaker request form available on the town's website at aurora.ca/planning notices. Contact Planning and Development Services by email at planning@aurora.ca, or complete a green interested party form, which Linda has up. Thank you. And leave it with our committee coordinator, Linda, sitting at the front. Under the Planning Act, only the applicant has the right to appeal any decision of council on the planning application to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Names, addresses, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk, Town of Aurora. I will now ask the Deputy Town Clerk to confirm that notification to the public occurred as required by the Planning Act. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Respecting item 5.1 on tonight's agenda, report number PDS 25-025, application for zoning bylaw amendment 2854756 Ontario Inc., 8 Kennedy Street East, Park Lot 162, Plan 246, file number ZBA-2024-08. A notice of public planning meeting was issued on January 28, 2025 to all addressed property owners within 120-meter radius of the subject lands, published in the local newspapers, posted on the town's website, and posted on signage on the subject property. Public notification has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Clerk. I will now ask Director of Planning and Development Services to begin with the presentations. Mr. Romano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll ask our town planner, Ken Yang, to provide a brief overview of the application, and then we can turn it over to the applicant's planning consultant, Groundswell Planning. Go ahead, Kenny.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of public. My name is Kenny Yang, and I'm a development planner of the town. Tonight, I'll be providing an overview of the subject lands, planning application, the proposal, as well as next steps. The subject lands are municipally known as 8 Kennedy Street East and are located on the north side of Kennedy Street East between Yonge Street and Garnett Street. The subject lands are approximately 1,200 square meters in size with a lot frontage of approximately 28.7 meters. The subject lands are predominantly surrounded by low-density residential uses, as well as a range of commercial uses and retirement facilities. The subject lands are designated as stable neighborhoods in Schedule B of the town's official plan. Townhouse is a permitted use under the designation. The subject lands are currently zoned R7, mixed density residential. This zone permits for low density residential uses, including single detached, semi-detached, duplex, and triplex dwellings. The zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the subject lands to a site-specific R8 zone to permit for the proposed townhouse use. The development standards on lot frontage and parking requirements will also be amended. Staff note that the proposed townhouse building meets the minimum lot frontage of 6 meters for each unit. However, it will need relief for the total lot frontage requirement of 30 meters. The applicant has submitted a conceptual site plan to illustrate the proposed development. The townhouse units have GFA ranging from 238 to 350 square meters. Each unit is equipped with a front porch, attached garage, and front and rear yard space. The proposed building is designed to be contemporary modern style as approximately 9.9 meters in height, with 2 parking spaces provided for each unit. A review of the proposed application has been undertaken by town departments and public agencies. Staff have identified the following matters to be addressed: availability of servicing allocation, revised engineering submissions in accordance with staff comments related to drainage and servicing, as well as submission of a cultural heritage evaluation report to justify delisting of the listed heritage property. The delisting will require a future heritage committee meeting prior to council approval of the application. And lastly, comments to be received at this public planning meeting. A community information meeting hosted by the applicant was held on December 17th of last year to introduce the application to area residents and to obtain feedback. Some questions and responses provided at the meeting include the following: access to townhouse units. Access to each unit is provided via individual driveway on Kennedy Street East. Urban design. Urban design of the project will be reviewed in accordance with stable neighborhood policies in the town official plan, ensuring delivery of quality design and architectural treatment. Future application. A future consent application is required to divide the property line of the townhouse units, which will occur when the foundation of the building is completed. Next steps, staff will continue to review the application and provide feedback to the applicant. Comments from the public and council raised at the meeting will also be considered. When appropriate, a staff recommendation report for council's consideration will be discussed at a future committee of the whole meeting. All interested parties will be notified of any updates relating to the subject application. That concludes staff's presentation. Please direct any questions or comments on this development to my contact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kenny. Mr. Romano?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we can ask Maggie from Groundswell Planning to provide their presentation.
Hello, members of council. My name is Maggie Way. I'm here with Groundswell. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. To members of council, my name is Maggie Way with Groundswell Urban Planners. I'm here with Brad Rogers from Groundswell Urban Planners and Vito Froyo of Stellar Homes, the owner of the subject property. So on behalf of our client, we have submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application for the subject property to allow for the development of 4 townhouse units. And this was submitted in October of 2024. Sorry, I skipped this one. This is our team, and I would like to note that we are retaining a cultural heritage planner to complete the report, which will be submitted in the next application. So we previously held our community information meeting on December 17th, which was lightly attended and received feedback from counselors and a neighbor. We've also received comments from the town's commenting departments and are working to incorporate them into our resubmission, which we anticipate will be towards the end of February or the beginning of March in 2025. Our site, the site is located on the north side of Kennedy Street East and is surrounded by residential, commercial, and open space uses. The property abuts the promenade and has access to a variety of amenities, including parks such as Rotary Park, the Aurora Library, and is an approximately a 20-minute walk from the Aurora GO station. There's also access to a commercial plaza within walking distance. I won't go over this again in too much detail as Kenny discussed the policy background, but I'll restate that the application does conform to the town's official plan. The proposal is consistent with the neighboring property standards and respectful of the overall character of the neighborhood. The proposed development will provide gentle intensification while upholding the intent of the stable neighborhood policies. Our application for a zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject lands to R8 Townhouse Dwelling Residential, exception zone number to be determined, which will allow for the development of the townhouses along with some site-specific development standards. So to give some further details about the proposal, the townhouses are 3 stories, which conform to the 3-story limit in the stable neighborhoods policies. 9.9 meters in height, each with 4 bedrooms. Each unit will have 2 parking spaces, one in the garage and one in the driveway. And there is a minimum lot area of 268 meters squared per unit with a minimum of 102 meters squared rear yard outdoor amenity space. So I've included some renderings of the frontage, which I'll show quickly. Sorry. And our site plan, in which you can see the rear yard amenity space plus the side yard setbacks and the front yard green space. And our landscape plan with some more details regarding the frontage and the proposed plantings. And my contact information is there if anyone has any further questions. And thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I'll open for public portion. Is there any members of the public that would come on? You just get you to state your name and you have 5 minutes.
You hear me? Hi, my name is Jordan Drodge. I live at 98 Richardson Drive in Aurora. I'm looking at this presentation and the houses, the design looks really good. My concern is accessibility. Accessibility. My concern is the accessibility of the units. I have grown up in a house with a similar stack design like this. I have elderly parents that we are living proof that it is extremely difficult for seniors and other people with accessibility problems to function in these houses. So I'm just,
No, to the chair, please, to the chair.
excuse me, to you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just concerned about the accessibility with the increasing population of people with injuries, seniors, how they're actually going to function in these houses that are being built. Like I said, the housing crisis is a big problem, and we don't seem to have that many effective solutions, but the problem is growing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Recommendation councils that report number PDS 25-025 be received, and 2, that the comments presented at the statutory public planning meeting be addressed by Planning and Development Services and report to a future committee of the whole meeting. Someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Gallo, thank you. Councillor Weiss. Any comments or questions to the applicant or the report? Councillor Gardner.
On the landscape plan, there are a lot of circles here. They usually mean trees. Would this be to you, Mr. Minow?
Mr. Renaud?
Certainly through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll just pull up the drawing.
Thank you. I'm just trying to figure out all these circles are. Some of them are not even on this land.
Excuse me, Councilor Gardner, which
I'm looking at the landscape. I'm looking actually at the
our report,
applicant's.
staff report?
I'm looking at the applicant's landscape plan. Pardon? Page 37, thank you.
Find it, Mr. Renaud.
Is it-
Just a second.
Maybe it's on the. What's page 37? Oh,
Yeah, so, and we can get the applicant to answer those, but I think the circles on that plan are just identifying existing trees on adjoining lots. The lot itself looks like there is some vegetation, but not significant. But we can ask Maggie perhaps to identify if the landscape plan identifies future plantings and or existing trees.
Maggie?
Through council, the circles on I am not
Yes,
able to,
that's-
this is
yeah,
the same
The
plan.
landscape plan, yeah.
The circles outside the property are existing trees. The plantings that we're proposing are in the front yard. These are mostly in the beds along the front and the trees in the right of way.
Council.
the trees in the right of way.
At the front.
Thank you. I think that's all I need you for. I mean, and my comment on this is pretty dense housing, and having a green lawn is really not I mean, I think there need to be more trees. I think there should be more trees for many reasons. Also, with respect to the R7, where's all of this R7, or did we change this?
Mr. Romano?
I mean, relatively recently after.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if you're,
Okay,
the R7 was formerly known as the R5 zone, so it was just renumbered. And that R7 zone exists for the most part in this part of town, around town park, and that zoning does permit singles, semis, duplex, and triplexes, but it also permits, and you may recall this in the past, converted dwellings. And the previous applicant or the previous owner of the of this property did come in a number of years ago with a proposal to convert the existing dwelling, and the R7 zone would permit an existing dwelling to be converted to house 4 units internally.
Counselor?
But again,
And-
this applicant now, their proposal is to rezone it to a townhouse zone to permit 4 individual townhomes on the property and
Okay.
remove the existing home.
thank you.
Council.
And did you say 4 internal units? Okay, so would have as right 4 now anyway, but 1 external. Thank you. It's bordering on on environmental protection land. It looks like it's right up against the land. I guess, again, to you, Mr. Romano.
Mr. Romano?
To you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the entire property is zoned. The R7 and the EP land exists to the north. Again, we do have background reports, and we'll verify the limits of any EP area. But based on our current information, the open space pertains to the lot immediately to the north.
Counselor?
There are buffer requirements between residential and EP. So where is that on this plan?
Mr. Romano?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, there's no buffer requirements on this R8 zone. But again, with the rear yard, these are deep lots. So with the rear yards being proposed here, we don't believe that that's going to be an issue.
Counselor?
So this would really just pertain to the one house, the townhouse at the end. So we're not, these are, deep doesn't have anything to do with this. It's,
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, correct. Yes, the lot is zone R7. No environmental features on the lot itself. The open space zone and the EP zone exist on the properties immediately to the north.
Counselor?
okay, maybe I have this wrong. Thank you. So is it the front yard which is it, the front or backyard? What's bordering on an EP? Is it the one townhouse or is it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it
Romano.
is, if we can put up schedule, one of the schedules, it is the rear yard, the rear property line would border the open space lot to the property immediately to the north.
So there would be a requirement to leave a certain buffer on the actual rear yard property line or adjoining the rear yard property line.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, the open space property to the immediate north, I believe, is the town-owned portion, town-owned land. There really isn't a need for a buffer in this instance because, again, the development, the rear yards, it's an extensive rear yard. So again, the property, there will be, we can verify this moving forward at a future report, but the limits of the development here don't extend beyond within that open space area.
Counselor?
Thank you. But even with an extensive rear yard, there still has to be a requirement for there to be no building and perhaps other environmental protections to provide a buffer to the EP land.
Mr. Renaud.
So again, through you, Mr. Mayor, we have received I'm just pulling up the background reports. We do have an environmental impact study that has been submitted. In our future report, we can provide additional details with respect to whether there are any buffer requirements, but based on the design and the proposal in front of us, there'll be no encroachment into the open space or EP lands immediately to the north.
Allison.
I just want to know if the buffer that's required for environmental protection lands is going to be included here. I don't see that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, once we complete our review, we'll verify whether there's a need for a buffer, and if the rear portion of the lands, if that is the case, would have to be identified or zoned in the EP with an EP zone.
Counselor.
And again, just to be clear, the rear portion of the lots is really just is a backyard landscape area. So again, if the report identifies a need for a buffer, we would recommend an EP zone along that stretch of the rear yards. But we'll verify that moving forward.
Counselor.
Okay. Am I correct that all EP lands need a buffer up against residential?
Mr. Renaud.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll have to verify that in this situation. I don't believe, and again, I may be mistaken, but we will report back that we may not need to provide a EP zone on this property towards the rear yard. But again, in this proposal, there seems to be lots of space in the rear yard. If there is a requirement for that, it's not going to impact the proposed development because of the depth of the lots.
Counselor.
Thank you. At the very least, there would have to be a no construction zone. Thank you.
Counselor Gallup.
Thank you. And I'm sure that'll be answered, but just to apply a little bit of logic, if we look at the aerial view on page 30, and the EP zone is going east-west at the northern boundary, and you'll see houses to the east and to the west of this property. So if there was a buffer, those homes would be directly adjacent to the EP zone. And if you look at the site plan, it's 63 feet or 16 meters currently from the back of the lot to the edge of the nearest home. But I think if we apply some logic in terms of the page 30 and the homes to the east and west, those would be in the EP, if it be built in the EP, if that was the case. If there was any buffer there, those homes would be directly inside of the EP. But I'm sure we'll get the answer if it moves to the next phase.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. Linda, all three. Councilor Reese. You're yes. Councilor Reese. Councilor Reese. Councilor Reese is a yes. Councilor Gillen. Councilor Gillen's a yes. Councilor Gardner. Councilor Gardner's yes. That carries. Confirming bylaw. Something like that. Councilor Reese, Councilor Kim, all those in favor. Opposed, that carries. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Kim, Councilor Gardner, all those in favor. Opposed, that carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.